Coming up on iOS today, Rosemary Orchard and I have unboxed our new iPad Pros, and it's time to put these things to the test. We've got apps that are going to blow away, well, your expectations, I think, for this new iPad, because this thing is powerful, and frankly, so are these apps. Stay tuned.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This episode of iOS Today is brought to you by Casper. When it comes to a better night's sleep, Casper's new cooling collection has you covered. Focus on tomorrow. Let Casper handle the rest. Explore Casper products, mattresses, sheets, pillows, and more at casper.com/iOS today and use code iOS today for $100 off select mattresses. Whoa! Hello, and welcome back to iOS Today, the show where we talk all things iOS, tvOS, watchOS, HomePod OS, iPad OS. It's all the OSs all the time here on iOS Today. I am Mikah Sargent.
And I am Rosemary Orchard.
Hello, Rosemary. So this is super exciting. Behind you in your in this interesting screen you have, we can kind of see a ghost version of you. What is that you've got there behind you?
That would be my brand new 24-inch iMac, which, interestingly enough, has the exact same specifications as my brand new iPad Pro. Yes, they have the same SSD, they have the same RAM, and we're going to see what WWDC brings us in a couple of weeks as to whether or not they're going to be able to do all the same things or just some of the same things. But I'm still loving my iPad.
I'm so pumped. That is the purple one, right? The purple, not the purple iPad. Too bad it's not a purple iPad, but a purple iMac there behind you.
Yes, it is. How
long ago did you get it?
This morning. It literally arrived today. So today is June 2nd in Apple land. It's not, it's May 28th, but they tell me it's arriving on June 2nd and also it's delivered. So I'm a little confused by, the existence of the iMac when it is not June 2nd, but I'm also very happy. It's a bank holiday weekend here in the UK. That makes it 3-day weekend, which gives me enough time to pull all of the cables off my desk, clean everything, and then redo everything with the iMac there instead of my Intel Mac Mini, which is what I'm currently using. And it should be quieter as well, which will be really nice.
Yes. Well, I am pumped for you that you've got the new iMac in hand days early. But we are here to talk about these new iPads that we have in hand. These are absolute beasts of a machine. Excuse me. Wow. See, it's so much of a beast. It just tried to come at me. But these iPad Pros are, of course, Apple's, as they would say, most powerful iPad Pros. But here's the thing with these. We're packing in an Apple M1 chip. So, a lot of that's marketing speak because Apple's own silicon has technically been in its iPads and iPhones for a while. But you're getting some incredible performance on the iPad Pro, comparable to all of the magic that's been happening on Apple's new M1 Max that everybody's very pumped about. Plus, with the 12.9-inch screens, you get the XDR Liquid Retina. That is a powerfully beautiful screen that is kind of mind-blowing in comparison to the other options out there. If you went with a cellular model, you also get 5G, but I don't really care about that so much because A, I didn't get the cellular model, and B, 5G, SMIVG. That's what I say. But it's all about that M1 chip. It's an 8-core CPU, 8-core GPU, and 16-core neural engine. The neural engine, of course, helps with all sorts of performance stuff. And basically what that means is you get 50% faster CPU performance and 40% faster graphics performance. As Jeffrey Powers has said in the Discord chat, don't forget Thunderbolt. Yes, this iPad Pro right here packs in Thunderbolt support. So you get blazing fast transfer speeds. And that means a lot for folks who are editing photos and videos on the iPad Pro and who want to have the quickest communication between the two devices. So plugging this into my MacBook Pro with a Thunderbolt cable was kind of magical, just to see how quickly it all stacked up. So it's 1,000 nits of brightness regularly, and then 1,600 nits of peak brightness, which is HDR. So you will get that HDR content on the screen, plus ProMotion, which is 120 hertz refresh rate, and the P3 wide color gamut. But one of the things I want to talk about with this is on the iPhone, the screen is a 2 million to 1 contrast ratio, which they're able to achieve because of the OLED display. The iPad Pro is not an OLED display. It is a mini LED display. And yet, it is able to achieve a 1 million to 1 contrast ratio. So it's half of what the iPhone can achieve. However, that is still an incredible contrast ratio, 1 million to 1. And that's thanks to the 10,000 mini LEDs that are packed into this bad boy with what are called local dimming zones, 2,500 of them. And what this does is it lets those individual dimming zones adjust the brightness of the LEDs to affect the brightness of the screen, which then lets that 1 million to 1 contrast ratio shine through. Even if you don't go with the big 12.9-inch iPad Pro, you do get a really impressive display with the 11-inch, 600 nits of brightness. You still get the P3 wide color gamut, the ProMotion display, and of course that True Tone screen, which allows you to have the screen slightly change color temperature based on the environment it's in. I would be remiss if I didn't mention it also packs in Wi-Fi 6, which is the most recent, well, it's the most operable version of Wi-Fi, the most recent operable version of Wi-Fi right now. And so you are going to get blazing fast speeds with Wi-Fi 6 that you wouldn't get with Wi-Fi 5, as long as you have a router that supports it. I do have one of the Eero Pro 6 routers. And so with that, I'm getting the Wi-Fi 6 speeds on the new iPad Pro. And then a true depth camera on the front of the iPad Pro, which is kind of wild because what this allows is for a feature that Apple calls center stage, where the iPad is secretly, technically taking a large photo that it can see, and it crops it down for the normal photo that's being taken or the normal video that's being taken. And then what it does is it intelligently can move around and pan around and zoom as it needs to let you and your subjects stay in focus on screen and communicate. So it's a really interesting feature. You can use it in FaceTime, and Zoom just recently added it. But there's a really cool camera inside of that. On the back side, you've got the LiDAR scanner, you've got the wide camera and the ultra wide camera, 12 megapixels and 10 megapixels respectively. And that LiDAR sensor, kind of a big deal. Not quite yet, but hopefully soon we'll see even more thanks to ARKit, which makes for a much more responsive and sort of detailed interaction. And that also helps with the what is the word I'm looking for? The focusing of the camera as you take photos or take video with it. And yeah, that's kind of a quick overview of some of the new features of the iPad Pro. But Rosemary, you and I thought, hey, we've got these beasts of a machine, and folks are kind of talking about how they hope that iPadOS catches up to this incredible hardware at WWDC. But even before we get there, why not talk about how there are some apps that can truly take advantage of this powerful screen? So, Rosemary, anything you want to say about the iPad before we get started? And then why don't you take it away? Take it away.
I just want to take a moment to talk about how much I'm enjoying the 12.9-inch screen size, because I previously had an 11-inch. You did as well. And I've had a 12.9-inch iPad Pro before. I had the first generation of iPad Pro in the huge size. So I didn't just have the huge screen, I had huge bezels on that as well. And I have to say that did make a difference. And the fact that this doesn't have huge bezels means that when I pick it up in my hands, you know, it just is a little bit smaller. And I have to say, I actually put it on the sofa next to me the day after I opened it on air last week in the Magic Keyboard. And I glanced down at it and I thought, oh yeah, it's the 11-inch. I should go get my 12.9. Like, it didn't look that much bigger folded up on my sofa. But I'm really enjoying the extra screen size. I'm really enjoying the fact that when you split screen, you do get those 2 full iPad apps versus, an iPad app and an iPhone app, or 2 iPhone apps side by side. And it is, just a great device. I'm really enjoying it. The Magic Keyboard, again, was well worth it for me. I did have one for my 11-inch iPad Pro. I got another one for my 12.9-inch that didn't arrive until Saturday because Apple didn't tell me I was getting an iPad Pro last Friday until very late Thursday evening. So I couldn't order it in time to be delivered for the next day, unfortunately, at least not with my student discount. But yeah, it's a really great device, and it does just feel very smooth, very snappy. I mean, I certainly didn't have any complaints on my 2018 iPad, but it just feels even better. It's one of those things like, you get in a new car and your car is older or something, and then you realize, oh wow, there are actually things that I'm missing here. I didn't realize technology had moved on, but it has, and it's great, and I'm loving the screen. I have to say, I don't use it at full brightness most of the time. I'm sitting here right now with it around about 30% brightness. If I put it at full brightness, well, I'll probably burn my retinas out, so let's not do that. I'll stick to keeping it around 30% and increase my brightness when I'm sitting outside in the sun, as hopefully I'll be doing if the weather in the UK plays ball. I'm sad to report it is incredibly grey and stormy looking outside right now.
Oh, no. Yeah, I have not really played with the full brightness on the screen for that same reason. It gets very, very, very bright. But you hit the nail on the head there with the kind of comparison to anytime I've had a rental car and you go, oh man, I need to not do this, because if I do this, then I'm just going to realize how old my car is. If I just ignore this, then everything's fine. But the second I pay attention to it, it's kind of ugh. But in this case, we don't have rental cars. We actually have 12.9-inch iPad Pros. And like you, the first model of iPad Pro that I ever got was the 12.9-inch iPad Pro. Unfortunately, that was stolen from me. And when that happened, it really just kind of, a lot happened and it just kind of put me off of it. And I ended up switching to the 11-inch, and I loved the size, the portability, and everything like that. But with this new one, it was finally time to try. If you're going to have, the better one is the bigger one, then you got to go with the bigger one if you can. And so I did go with the bigger one. And so far, I'm very happy because where I may have found myself taking my MacBook Pro to the place that I would go to do whatever it was that I needed to do, now I find myself just taking this iPad Pro with me and doing those things there. So yeah, it's a pretty it's revelatory how I've ended up liking the screen. But let's break into the apps and start with one that I'm kind of nervous about you showing me because it'll probably result with me downloading it.
All right. Well, I did mention world domination last week, Micah, and everybody likes pretending to take over the world. And the great news is if you want to play a game called Civilization, then you don't just have the ability to take over the world. That is your job. That is your goal. So Civilization, this is Civilization 6. So people who've played previous versions, it should be familiar. It's free to download, and you get the first 60 turns for free, which is possibly the most dangerous way to try Civilization ever, because it's always one more turn. And then 4 o'clock in the morning, you're still there playing. You said one more turn at like 6 p.m. And yeah. So basically the idea in Civilization is you start by creating a world. And I've gone through all of that and set everything up, but otherwise I'm still right at the beginning. So you can create different kinds of worlds. You can have an actual Earth-based map. You can have continents. You can have like a snowflake shape and a variety of other things. So I've picked continents. And right now, as you can see if you're watching the video version, there's a little segment of a map on my screen, and I've got a compass, and it's telling me that my unit needs orders. And if I tap on this, then I can see that, okay, these are my warriors. So these are here to defend me. And as a warning, there are barbarians. So you want to, not keep these guys too far away. And so as they explore, then you see more on the map. And part of your job is to create a city. I'm just going to create that in the place that they've put me to start with. And then once you have a city, It's doing the tutorial for mobile at the moment, which I couldn't turn off. I'll probably figure that out later. You can choose what to build, and there are some suggestions here. So it's suggesting that either I build scouts, that's going to take me 5 turns, and this is a turn-based game, or a city center monument. I'm going to build scouts because it is always good to know what is around. And you also need to research something. And what you research obviously is going to depend on, what you're trying to do. There is a whole tree, and you can actually just go down the tree and pick something. And so you can say, oh, I want construction. Okay, so that means I need to go back here. Construction requires masonry. Masonry requires mining. All right, then I'm going to learn to mine. Mining seems like a good thing. And I don't actually have any animals or anything around here at the moment that I might want to do something with. So you start by picking things and you go on to the next turn. And I'm playing against the AI. So it is, calculating everything in the background for me to do everything. And it's done. It's faster than it was before, I have to say. And now my unit needs some more orders. So I'm just going to move these guys 1 tile in this direction and see. Okay, nothing particularly interesting. Next turn. Now I can set any and all of my groups of people to automatically do things. But the problem with them automatically doing things is they may automatically do something that you don't want them to do. Like scouts have a tendency to just go off and get lost. And I don't mean get lost in a good way. I mean, like they get horrendously lost and they're somewhere and they are seemingly stuck and then get eaten by wolves, or actually usually attacked by other scouts or barbarians. And if you find barbarians, then you should probably try to deal with them. And I have not yet found any, unfortunately, to show you. I have this little mini map down here in the bottom left, and now you can see I've discovered this other settlement. It's Lisbon, so part of Portugal, and my scouts are here, and Lisbon's probably not all that happy about me being here, but they don't seem to be upset. So I mean, I can continue on through Lisbon, so I will do that. And because I've discovered another continent, so I found an ocean over there, which I'll show you in a second, then I can get foreign trade faster. So exploring gives you advantages, basically, for things, which means that, as you go through and do things, then, you'll be able to do those faster. So building things, learning things, and so on can all happen faster. Okay, so I have some scouts, so I'm going to build some builders. That sounds a little bit strange, but your city does stuff. And now I am going to put my scouts on automated exploring. And then I will start bringing my warriors back, because at some point I'm going to have barbarians. They're going to come. They're going to try and take over for me. I don't really want that. I'll do this in a slightly circuitous fashion where I get my warriors to hopefully... I'm struggling to navigate a little bit here. There we go. To come around the mountains, just so that I get a little picture of what's over here. And my mini map down here in the bottom left just keeps building and expanding automatically as I go and as I discover more of the world. And the idea is at some point you should have an entire globe that you can see. So that you can, navigate around the world. You'll trade with people. You'll send other countries, which appear up in the top right underneath the battery icon. You can send them delegates, you can do trade deals with them, you can declare war on them, you can invade. If you have allies in other countries, then if you start a war, then they may fight with you or they may not. But eventually, as you go through, you will do things like complete research, which I've just completed mining, so now I need to choose something new. And again, I can go back to my technology tree and say, okay, yeah, I'm still wanting to go down this path. Or actually, you know what? I'm thinking I'm going to need irrigation. And to do irrigation, I need pottery. So I'm going to select pottery and then just go back there. I will give my unit some orders. And I've dragged that outside the bubble, so that'll do their next turn as well, actually, when it gets to that. And now we can see I've got some barbarians. So I'm going to have to fight those. That's probably going to take me a little while. Because I'm very low level right now. And of course, at lower levels, things take longer, especially if you have low skilled groups. So warriors are not as good as other things. But basically, Civilization has been around for a very long time. It is a great game. that many people have enjoyed on many platforms over the years. And when Civilization 6 came out, everyone said, it looks like a touchscreen game. And I know some people were a little upset about that. But I have to say, I think that, it being a touchscreen game has just allowed it to come to the iPad and be a great iPad game. It does have trackpad interaction, so I can, do all of this on the trackpad. It also has keyboard shortcuts, though they're not showing up when I tap and hold the command key right now. But under the options, I can control all of the key bindings and adjust all of this. So as you can see, they are really targeting at the iPad Pro. It is also available on the iPhone, and there's even some iMessage stickers. But you have a variety of choices that you can control here. And for people who've played this on another platform, it is indeed the same. Which, has advantages, because if you're familiar with the game already, then, you'll probably quite enjoy having the ability to just, do exactly the same thing, but on the go, because this is a great game to play anywhere. And I particularly like the fact that you can play this on the go and truly enjoy things. And I'm going to build a farm right there. So, yes.
Very nice.
So there we go. And the United States of America has discovered me, or I've discovered the United States of America. I am going to
run away.
Okay. Well, I've invited them over for tea. So
dear.
I'm not British. There we go. Things seem to be going well. I've met another civilization. My knowledge of writing has advanced considerably. And, this can only be going well.
I guess if you're both colonizers, then it works, but...
Yeah, so at this stage of the game, things tend to be a little bit more amicable. As things progress later, things may become less amicable. And you'll definitely want to build alliances and so on with other people, which you can do, by tapping on them. And now, so I'm talking to Teddy Roosevelt here. So each version of Civilization has selected people from sort of different eras or different people to represent. So this time it's Teddy Roosevelt, and I think it's Queen Victoria for the UK. But I can declare a surprise war. I can make a deal. I can declare friendship. Send a delegation. I think I'll do that. And he's welcomed my delegation, so it's a good sign. If somebody rejects your delegation, they're probably planning on declaring war on you. And that's why this game is so engrossing. It doesn't necessarily require huge amounts of brain power to do anything in particular, but there is a lot of, thinking around problems that you can do, and a little bit of planning that you might want to do. So yeah, I'm going to build a farm here. I'm going to need a road. If I settle over here, then I'll get the sea, but I'm going to need to build a road there, and I'm probably going to want to build another city in between. But I can see somebody else is going to, they're sending settlers. So if I can get my settlers there faster, then I can build a city there and so on. And it's a great game. It's been out for quite a while now, but it really works extremely well on the iPad Pro, and I'm really pleased with that. Originally, when it first came out, it was only for the iPad Pro. But if you haven't played it, the first 60 turns are free. If you can finish a game in 60 turns, good luck. That you'll probably want a tiny world for that, but it's great fun. I really love it.
Nice. Well, the next game we're going to talk, that's, as you said, free with in-app purchases. The next game we're going to talk about is one that I only recently came across. And unfortunately, I came across it right before I got the new iPad Pro. And so I started playing it, not thinking, because I thought, okay, if it's got to log in with Apple Arcade, then I'll be able to sync between, different iPads or different apps or what have you. And so I started playing it on my 11-inch iPad Pro, and super enjoying it. But I got far enough in it that I did not want to restart on the 12.9-inch iPad Pro. And as far as I can tell, there's no easy way to take the progress that I have and my saved game that I have on my 11-inch iPad Pro and move it to the 12.9-inch iPad Pro. So this is Divinity Original Sin 2 Definitive Edition. It's available for $24.99 in the App Store. And you start out as a character. You can create the character. I created a character named Elevor, as that is the name of my character in the Dungeons and Dragons campaign that I play. And so here I am, and I am going to show kind of the gameplay. But you can play with the trackpad if you want to, and the keyboard, or you can have it in sort of touch and move mode, and that's the mode that I have on currently. So I'm tapping on the screen to make movements, and there are different gestures that are involved as well. So what I'm trying to do right now is I need to get this door over here open, and in order to open that door, there are these two pressure plates that are on the floor. And the story of the game is that the whole point is that it's a security feature where two magisters are required to stand on one of the pressure plates in order to open the door to where the cells are. But it turns out that some people who are just trying to get in there aren't following protocol, so they'll put things on those pressure plates. So that was the hint to me that that's what I need to do. So I've tapped on this vase, and I'm slowly going to be bringing it into this room. By the way, I could also use the stool, which I've just remembered during my first playthrough here. But I went the long way, and I went back into the last room and got a vase. So I'm tapping and dragging it forward, and then I walk forward, and then I tap and drag it again. And hopefully we can get it there on the pressure plate, and boom. Now this door opens. When I walk in, and you can see, look at this buttery smooth movement. I'm moving around on this really detailed, look at their reflections in the oils on the floor here, and these lights. The fire feature is really nice. If I get very close into my character, you can see the animations of this bar this band that's around my neck that glows subtly as it twirls. Again, that light there of the candles and the lantern, and swinging stuff over here, and then all of these characters that are in different places as I move around and look at stuff. And there is a sleeping guard. So I'm going to come into this room a little bit more. I'll close that door first and kind of show. See, it saves, and that's always a hint. Everybody knows that's a hint. If your game saves as you are about to enter a new space, you know that something big's about to go down. And I will say this too. The save on this 12.9-inch iPad Pro, quite a bit faster than the save on the 11-inch iPad Pro. That always takes a little bit longer. I'm moving through an oil slick right now, so it's a little bit slow. And I've just picked up an oil barrel that I can put somewhere else. So I think what we'll do is, see, I have the benefit of having played through this stage before. So I know what's going on. And for example, this person that's in the cage, I remember opening up the door and letting that person out. And when I did that, they decided to attack me. So I think I'm going to be a little bit more careful this time. As I also do a search. Do you see, Rosemary, there's a spear in that?
Yep.
I would love to grab that. I don't think you
can take that. I think that's just decoration.
That is indeed just decoration. So what I'm going to do is take this fire barrel and put it in my quick action panel down at the bottom. And I'm going to... Oh, wait, that's not how I do that. I can't remember how to...
What are you trying to do?
That's what I want to do. I wanted to drop it near this door. So now I can take it and put it here. Perfect. And then I just picked up a scroll called Electricity, or I think it's called, let me see what this says, Electric Discharge Scroll. So what I could do is take these oil barrels and move them into a place where we can kind of get some benefit here of discharging these electrically. So I'm going to step back, and then I'm going to tap on the scroll, and I'm going to charge this oil barrel. And let's see what happens, folks. And look at these graphics as we're playing all of this. So I
can say with confidence, I've played this on a gaming PC before, and my saves were slower than they are on the iPad. It's insane. It's a good gaming PC. It's not, a rubbish gaming PC. I've played this on the Switch as well. I mean, they're both great ways to play this, but I'm really enjoying playing this through on my iPad. So
sadly, that did not do exactly what I wanted it to do. And now I am in a fight with this guard who's at half health, thanks to my shocking. And this is a round-based what am I trying to say? The fighting rounds are round based. So currently it's my turn, and you can see at the top the order of turns that people have. You can double tap an enemy to attack, double tap the ground to move, and you have only so many action points here at the bottom, currently 4, to do different moves that I want to do. So I'm going to turn on this thing called, what is it called? Bullhorns, where bullhorns spring from my head. And then I can do an action called Bull Rush. So I'm going to Bull Rush that Magister Renard. And now Magister Renard is bleeding. And I think I don't have enough action points. I do. I have enough action points to backstab Magister Renard. And I was able to kill Magister Renard. And then look, Magister Renard has a key and a bow, should I need that. And I'm going to go down here. And I'm going to use this lever here to open this door, go inside, and do a quick search. Now, again, I talked about gestures that you can do. So over here on the right, there are these different quick actions, including highlighting items and searching items. There's a tactical view, which lets you kind of see over the top so you can tell where things are. Something called enemy sight cones, so you can check when people are watching you or if you're in their line of sight. But I'm gonna hit the question mark so you can see. Swiping with 3 fingers turns on or off tactical camera. Touching and holding with 3 fingers does an active search of the area. Tap with 2 fingers to turn on or off highlighting items. Tap with 3 fingers to turn on and off enemy sight cones. So I'm going to turn off highlighting items, and I'm going to tap and hold to do an active search of the area just to see if there's anything in here that I might want. It looks like the old ball and chain is in here. There's a bucket, a bowl, an oil barrel, and a mattress. So nothing really that I would want is in this area. So what we'll do is come back out here. Now, again, last time I pulled the lever, this person was not very nice. So I'm going to try to talk to Hemwar. Hey, get me out of this cage and I'll make it worth your while. You in? Agree to help, ask what to do. Turn your back. There's no way you're getting involved. Eye him carefully. Why is he in a cage in the first place? Your guess is as good as mine. Someone screamed, loud as a banshee. After that, pure pandemonium. They never even told me what I was accused of, just dragged me down here. Demand to know what exactly is in it for you or take your leave. I'm going to choose agree to help and ask what to do, but then I'm not going to pull the lever. A gentleman among jesters you are. Give that lever a pull and I guarantee we'll both get something out of the deal. Yeah, I think I know what I would get out of this deal. So,
especially if you've just been walking through oil, so you're currently slowed, which is not necessarily a great thing for you. Yeah, you have to watch out for all of these things in this game.
So now with, now they cast Fireball on me. That's a pretty bad move for me because now there's oil everywhere, as you very easily pointed out. Let's see if he's, oh, darn, he's not within the area. Let me move forward one and see if now he's within the area for me to turn him into a chicken. I believe so.
No, not quite.
Yep.
Almost. Oh, yes.
I was able to turn him into chicken. So now the little pal is a chicken. I'm going to go ahead and pull the lever, Crunk, and let the chicken come out. And you can see that, well, he can't really do much, so he's running into the other room and getting burnt as he does so. And now we will try to attack him while he's in chicken form. He's hiding in there. But
he is on fire, so he gets hurt every single turn, which is very useful. I mean, if you're on fire, then...
Unfortunately, I don't have enough action points to move closer and attack. So we will get closer, and then I will end the turn. He's turned back into his human form, but it's my turn again. So I'm going to lash out with the tentacle, like so. And that's that on that. Some crimes, like murdering or stealing, leave a crime scene. Even if nobody saw you commit the crime, they might become suspicious and start investigating. I'm going to loot the body. Looks like Hemwar didn't have anything. And then I'm going to lie down on this mattress, get some healing back. So we are getting +4 every less than a second. And now we are returned to full health. I can walk out, walk inside of Hemwar's kennel, walk inside of Hemwar's cage and just check to make sure there's nothing I missed here. And it looks like no, just a bucket, a mattress, and a candle holder. So we can, I'm going to go ahead and close this just so it looks like he died within the cage. And then there's a little save button over here on the right. I love that it's still floppy disks to this day. And I wonder if some of the people that are playing this have no idea what a floppy disk is. But they just know, oh, that's the save icon. So we took care of that little situation and we can move along to the other room. But I'm going to go ahead and tap save one more time and ask you, are you farther in the game? Have you been playing this? What are your thoughts about Divinity Original Sin 2? Available again for $24.99 in the App Store. It's a one-time purchase. There's no in-app purchase stuff to worry about.
Yeah, as I mentioned before, this is not my first time playing Divinity. I've played this. I played it on the PC first, and then I got it on the Nintendo Switch after I got a Nintendo Switch, and it came out there. And it's so good that I bought it again for a third time. So it is a story-based game, but depending on which characters you pick and how you build your party and how you play things as you go through, it's a different game every time. Obviously, the end goal is still the same. And, now with confidence, I can say I was playing it actually, I think from an earlier beta that they were doing that, I thought that the game was over at one point and it turned out it was not over. I just on the start of it. And then it was like, okay, now you're actually in the game. It's like, oh, okay. And then again, I thought I'd finished the game. Nope, there's more game. And it's good. It keeps you hooked. I've played the first version as well, which is great. And I really enjoyed it. It plays to me extremely well on the iPad. And it's not something I would, ever, complain about the performance of.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no. While we iron out Rosemary's connection, let us take a quick break, take a little nap, if you will, because this episode of iOS Today is brought to you by our pals at Casper. Love your tomorrow with Casper. The new Casper Cooling Collection, the 3 C's, has everything you need to help you sleep cool all night long. Casper's mattresses with new snow technology, hyperlight sheets, lightweight duvets, and breathable mattress protector are all designed to keep you cool and comfortable so you can't help but love your tomorrow. Tomorrow is a new day. Make the most of it with Casper's new cooling collection. Casper's Wave Hybrid Snow Mattress keeps you cool for 12 plus hours, pulling heat away from your body for sustained temperature regulation, a cool to the touch feeling, and a much improved tomorrow. Better bedding makes for a better tomorrow, which is why Casper's Hyperlight Sheets are designed with an innovative grid weave that lets air flow through for maximum breathability. The lightweight duvet provides optimal temperature control without sacrificing plush comfort. And Casper's breathable mattress protector improves the coolness of the bed even further by allowing air to flow between your body and the mattress. All of these are designed to work together to prevent overheating all night, because cooler sleep means better sleep, and better sleep means better tomorrows. And that is a certifiable fact. Sleep science and sleep studies have proven that sleeping in a cool room and sleeping cool will result in better sleep overall, and it's actually healthier for your body than sleeping in a warm room. If you are curious about that, you can look up studies on brown fat. Now, I have lots of Casper stuff, so I can speak from experience. I love my Casper mattress, my Casper bed sheets, my Casper pillows, my Casper bed foundation. I've got all the Casper things because Casper rocks and has been my sleep companion for so long. And, it's getting to be about time to upgrade my Casper and upgrade from a queen to a king. And the snow technology is where I've got my eyes. I'm definitely looking at that as my next go-to mattress. And folks, as always, Casper offers free shipping and free returns. When it comes to a better night's sleep, Casper's new cooling collection has you covered. Focus on tomorrow. Let Casper handle the rest. Explore Casper products, mattresses, sheets, pillows, and more at casper.com/iOS today and use code iOS today for $100 off select mattresses. That's code iOS today for $100 off select mattresses. Exclusions apply. See casper.com for more details. Thanks so much to Casper for sponsoring this week's episode of iOS Today and for always sponsoring my sleep. We appreciate it. Rosemary Orchard, welcome back.
Thank you. And thank you to my ISP, who has always got impeccable timing when it comes to random outages. And of course, my iPhone, which decided they didn't want to support tethering at that particular moment in time for whatever reason, despite rebooting all of the things. But I am back, and I have another app that pushes the iPad Pro if you're ready for it, Mikah.
I'm so ready, Rosemary. Tell me about it.
Well, this is Pixelmator Pro for your iPhone and iPad. And it works really the best on your iPad. And so I've got a picture here that I took earlier today of my iMac shortly after it arrived. And, it's an overcast day here in the UK. I put it in a not great position. So, the area around it's kind of busy. You can see my whiteboard behind it balancing on the picture ledge and everything. But one of the things I love about Pixelmator Photo is it's got this machine learning magic wand up here in the top right. And if I just tap that, then it uses machine learning to just magically do its best to enhance my photo. And then it's got this option where I can kind of split it and I can see, the before and after. And if I look at the picture actually on my wall behind me of that pink typewriter or of the blue ampersand, then I can actually see, which one of these is more accurate. And it is indeed, the machine learning enhanced version. Now, I'm not a big photography person. I take pictures, but I don't really do a huge amount with, my pictures. So something like that, honestly, for me is great. And on an older iPad, and I've got a regular iPad, the one before the current regular iPad, it takes forever to do this. And that's just my test device. And so there we go. It's gone ahead and it's done some more options for me. I'm just going to toggle that off. But if I want to, obviously I've got the options to crop it and do the standard flipping and everything that you can do with iOS, but I can also repair things. Okay, so I've got this area here where there's some reflection of this cloud bubble. That's actually my switchbot hub. And if I, attempt to repair this, and it's not done an amazing job, but it's not done a terrible job. I mean, I can see here that line is not straight. But if I, zoom out, then you can't see that at all on a smaller version of the image. And of course, you can undo any of these. So if I just try and do that a little bit more precisely, then, it's better. It's definitely better. But it has options as well to do all of the, the really more intense options. And it's got a machine learning option for each of these. Okay. So I can do things like the white balance. Okay. And my whiteboard here is actually white. Okay. So if I do the machine learning version, then you can see my walls come up a little bit more yellow, which it actually is. And I'm really pleased with that. But of course, if I want to, then I can adjust the temperature and make everything, more blue or more yellow, or just go back to machine learning. I can also, select a gray option if I want to. And I can repeat this machine learning option with each of these. And if I want to, improve the highlights or reduce the exposure, increase shadows, things like that, then I can do all of those myself manually. And that's one of the things I really love about this. If you want to go ahead and play with all these curves, if you're actually, wanting to learn how to use all of this, then you can do that. And you can, make your picture look as accurate as possible for real life, or not. And of course, if you mess it all up like I do, then there's a reset button at the bottom. You also have options to turn on a variety of different sections. I'm just going to turn on all of these just so that I can show people. I mean, this is a pretty long list, but there we go. So you can show each of these. So you just toggle them on and off, and then you can, do stuff with them. So if I want to sharpen this, it's a pretty sharp image already. But you can also increase your radius of the sharpening, which, well, I mean, if I was looking for a zombie apocalypse effect, I think I've just found one. And I like the fact that if I'm messing with something and, maybe I've got a really good thing going on with the fade and then I'm messing with sharpening and I do something with it and I'm like, oh God, that's awful. Obviously, I've got undo in the bottom left, in the top left, but I can also just undo this section and reset one section. Pixelmator Photo is what this app is called. When you actually look at it on your iPad, then it calls it Pixelmator Pro Photo. At least it does on mine. But it has, a whole bunch of options. And what you can also do is you can copy your adjustments, okay? So I've made some adjustments here. I'm just going to tap done. And it's going to modify this picture. But then I can open up this picture I took of the front. Okay, and now in here, I can paste those adjustments. So I've gone through and I've already edited a picture. But now I can use those edits that I've made and apply them to another picture. And it'll do the exact same thing on that one as well. And, if I have the machine learning option and then done, it's modified both of those pictures for me. And now if I'm looking at my photo library, you can see here, I've got a little robot mop that arrived recently. His name's Mo. You can see for these two, it's kind of difficult to see, but there's a little link icon in the top left, which just says, that you have edited this picture already with Pixelmator Photo. So you can go back and you can do things with it again. And that undo button's come back. So now I can go back and undo the changes that I've made. Oops, I've tapped on the wrong area there. And then I can tap done and I can revert my changes. So I can actually undo all of that as well. So if I don't want to have everything, then I can also just revert here without actually going into the editing of the photo. And now these pictures are back exactly how they were. And I can say, actually, you know what? I'm going to start with this one because I know that box is white. And, go into the settings, adjust my white balance and select something. And so let's select, there we go. That one is a white, and there we go. That is adjusting the color to be a little bit more real. And I have to say, I'm really pleased with Pixelmator Photo. It's always felt like a very easy to use, fluid application for me at any rate. But I'm pleased it is getting better and improving, and it's faster. And I believe it's one of the apps that is, they're already looking at what they can specifically do on an M1. I know Procreate, another popular option, has already added support for extra layers. So I wouldn't be surprised to see the folks at Pixelmator do something similar. But it supports all the great things like Apple Pro Raw and all of that, which is amazing. And I really love this. It is a great image editing application, and it's incredibly affordable as well. It is a one-time purchase of $7.99. So it's actually one of the cheapest apps we're looking at here today, but it is a great option if you would like to do some photo editing, but maybe like me, you're not so into, tweaking everything. Sometimes you want to, but most of the time you just want a magic wand that will do everything for you.
Honestly, Pixelmator Photo, it's one of those you need it. And so if you have to save for, a couple of paychecks to justify that $7.99 purchase, do it. It's fantastic. Pixelmator Photo is, I feel it's a necessity. Anybody that uses it can benefit from it. And I use it all the time. As you were just talking about the idea, I too am not good at really knowing what you're supposed to do to make a photo look super great. And I have found Pixelmator Photo to be that go-to tool where I just pop in there, I use that machine learning feature first, and then from there I can make the adjustments that I like to make a photo, pop or not pop or what have you. But it is just a great jumping off point. And the ability to upscale photos I have used before too. They've got a machine learning tool that lets you, I think it's called ML Super Resolution. And that one is one that I use all the time for kind of stuff that would normally be vector graphics I don't have a vector version of to get a higher res thing. So when Anthony, for example, asks for Memoji characters, I will use ML Super Resolution. I'll export it from iMessage, pop it into Pixelmator Photo first, use ML Super Resolution, and then it makes it a higher resolution image so that it can be scaled up and down without it looking as pixelated, because those photos are pretty small on their own and pretty low resolution. So yeah, everybody should have this app. It's ridiculous that it only costs $7.99 given what all it can do. And I use it on my Mac. I use it on my phone. I've got sort of automations built into the Mac with Pixelmator Photo where I can select a bunch of photos, and then on the touch bar on my MacBook Pro, I just hit enhance and it goes through some of the built-in features of Pixelmator Pixelmator Photo to turn on the ML enhance and turn them into the proper format and all that kind of stuff. And that's all built in with Pixelmator Photo. It's just so good. It's so good. Yeah, $7.99. Everybody should have this app for sure. So let's talk about what to do if you want to edit video on the iPad. The iPad is a great I've heard a lot of folks talk about how they like to edit stuff on their iPad, but Final Cut Pro, which is Apple's Pro app for editing video, which is available on the MacBook, is not available on the iPad. So you may be wondering what you should use. Well, there is one app that I know a lot of folks go to, and it is called LumaFusion. LumaFusion is a video editing app that, if you've ever edited videos, will look familiar to you. You can see I've popped in a video on the timeline down here, and I can scrub along the timeline to see the video. I've got the little information icon turned on so I can see what the name of this clip is, how long it is, the video frame rate, what the size of the video is. It's in 16:9, 8-bit, and AAC audio at 44.1 kilohertz mono format. Now, I'm going to tap on the question mark down here at the bottom so that we can see some of the different settings that we have here. So we've got current project settings, which are based on the clip that I brought in, so a lot like Final Cut in that way. The aspect ratio, the color space, so I could change this to the wide color gamut if I brought in some wide color gamut footage. I did not in this case. And then the background color of the timeline there at the bottom. Down here, you've got clip defaults, so you can adjust the type of fit that you want, be it fit within the frame or fill the frame, focus or stretch. And then we can go into ducking for the audio, how much you duck, when you duck, preferences. So again, for new projects, what the stuff is that you want. Frame IO, which is really cool, which lets you download directly from frame.io. So for film people, they know all about frame.io. That's not really something that your average person is going to be using. The clip style, so you can adjust that if you don't want an icon or a waveform with the clip that you bring in. Whether you do or do not show touches as you're moving around, and some other settings here, including advanced settings for the preview, ripple deletes, unlinking the track when it's locked, snapshot images, and preferring an alternate export. So we'll close out of that, and we can hold down on this to see all the different icons here. So there's the library source, the breadcrumb, which is kind of where you are in the libraries that you're going into, import media, multi-select, color tag, basically all of the tools that you'd come to expect from a video editor are right here on the timeline. So I can actually select this clip and then choose detach audio. And now I've got my audio separate from my video. I can make independent adjustments to this audio as I need to. Again, link and unlink, edit the clip. So we'll choose edit. And now on the right side here, I've got adjustments that I can make to the volume, including different effects and filters. So band pass, delay, distortion, dynamics, high pass filters, high shelf filters, low pass filters, making adjustments to pitch, etc. Again, ducking is available there, as well as volume settings and a limiter if you want that as well. So I could listen back to the audio. I could also retime the audio as I need to, which is really cool that they've got that built in, including a reverse feature and maintaining the audio pitch if you are making adjustments to the speed. And so we'll pop back out here. I'll tap on the video itself and choose edit so you can see some of the effects that are available here, including some transition stuff like panning left and putting it in different places. You can set up a picture in picture, the fit mode, which again is fill, cropping as you needed to. So if I wanted to create a square instead of a rectangle, I could do that. Size and position. I can make adjustments to where I want it on the screen. And then blending, if you want to turn on blending masks, blending modes like multiply, etc. You can set up your favorites that you might use all the time. And then it'll show you some, let you, flip the video if you need to. Zoom in and zoom out on the video there. And so we'll pop back out so we can get back to the mainframe. And again, we've got on the side here, projects, headers, and mixers. So you can see the audio a lot better and make adjustments to the audio. We can see the different sections, the different layers of video that you have. We'll close out of that. And then if I wanted to add a new project to this, I could. And then we'll choose no for now so that we can scroll through, and we'll just make a cut there and a cut there. And then you can do a slip trim. But then I'm trying to remember where the transition feature is. Do you remember, Rosemary? Oh, there it is.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it's, pretty much right under your feature, the finger.
And so then you can do transitions and effects between the two clips as well. And it's a buttery smooth timeline. You can stack clips. So I could add video on top of this. I could add audio underneath this to have multi-track effects. It is a very powerful LumaFusion is a very powerful video editor that is kind of exactly what you'd expect from multi-track editing of video. And you can do it all on the iPad using the trackpad if you'd like, or using just your finger to make adjustments there. So you can see I've got the trackpad moving about. And I could make adjustments that way. It's got, all of the built-in features like putting two fingers down and scrolling to move around the footage. And as I said, just buttery smooth when it comes to scrolling through the video, seeking through the video, and getting exactly what I am looking for. It's $29.99, so it's a pretty expensive app, but that is because it is a pro app to the max. This is, if you are looking for true video editing on the iPad, this is a way to make that happen. And given the quality of the screen on the iPad, you would be able to see, the footage that you're looking for in its original quality, and it's a great viewfinder for that. A kitty footage.
Yeah. So I was playing with this a while ago to try and build some clips of the cat that I was fostering for a while to make sure that she went to a good home. And, it was really easy to build, to put together, all I did was throw a couple of clips in there. I didn't even add any transitions or anything. I just wanted all the clips to be, one photo. And you can see, Smudge here in meerkat mode. I'm pleased to say it worked. She found a home. And she's very happy now. But, being able to show, a happy cat instead of, a picture of a cat is, really helpful. And what's more, LumaFusion will also run on an M1 Mac. So if you have one of the nice new Macs that you can get from Apple, then you can, run LumaFusion on your Mac and on your iPad. And, sometimes you might find it's easier to do the editing on your Mac. But, I think LumaFusion is so powerful that you can do all of the things that you want to do for video here. I mean, if you're getting really into the weeds of video editing, then maybe not. But as it is, if you're sticking together cute cat videos or whatever it is that you want to do, then you'll probably, find that it's easy enough to do with LumaFusion. And I've certainly enjoyed using it. And I think Smudge probably appreciated the fact that she got to have a bit of fun as well. I don't know if she appreciated the video, but she likes her home. So it was a win all the way around there.
Yay. That's awesome. So that's LumaFusion. There's a lot to it, and LumaFusion has lots of videos and tutorials on their website that you can check out to learn more about how LumaFusion works and how to use it. So just go, is it LumaTouch? Is that the name of the website? Luma-touch.com will get you to LumaFusion's website. and you can check out, all of the products that LumaTouch has on offer. All right. We would be remiss if we didn't talk about this next set of apps. Affinity, or Serif rather, the company Serif makes some incredible pro-level apps for the iPad. What's first, Rosemary?
Well, I think first it's worth talking about Affinity Photo. And so we already talked about Pixelmator Photo, and Pixelmator Photo is a great app. However, sometimes you might be looking for something that's perhaps a little bit more like Photoshop, but isn't Photoshop, because Photoshop exists on the iPad and so on. Some people love it, some people hate it. I'm one of the people that doesn't have an Adobe subscription. And for $9.99 with Affinity Photo and $7.99 for Pixelmator Photo, I definitely don't need one. And so I'm just going to switch to my iPad view here for the video stream. And you can see if I create a new document in Affinity Photo, then I start with a whole bunch of options. So I can create a new project from my clipboard. I can import from photos. I could actually just straight up take a new panorama and things like that. Instead, I'm going to go with import from photos, and you do need to allow access to your photos, but there we go. I will pick this picture of my purple iMac from earlier, which I reverted all my changes to in Pixelmator Photo. And for people who are more familiar with Photoshop, this is probably going to look a lot more familiar to you. You've got tools going up and down the left and on the right hand side. And so, if you want to use the crop tool, then that's right here. There's also things like the color picker tool. So if I'm looking to pick the color of the iMac, then I can do that. And then I can use the paintbrush tool. And that's currently in black. But if I change that color, then I can actually use my color picker. Sorry, I'm doing this quickly because I am live on air, and it's of course I am suffering for it. I am suffering indeed. But the options here are amazing, and this is much more of an artistic photo creation tool than Pixelmator Photo. So this allows you to do things like overlay text. So you can, type your standard things. You can insert emoji and all sorts. So if I type hello world, then it's going to come out in the smallest possible font, but I can change that. And so let's just go straight into 288, and that's still pretty darn tiny. But if I zoom in, you can see how bad my typing is. There we go. I'll just type hello and see if I can just move that using the move tool. There we go. If I put hello on a very large background. Now, you might think this is really pixely. Well, that's because, I took this photo with my iPhone, and how many megapixels is the iPhone nowadays? All of the megapixels. That's how many it is. So let's make that a bigger font. And then I'll just switch back to my move tool and stick that over here. And now you can see it. Now, of course, I've gone through, I've covered up the information on my internet. So now I can erase, and I can actually just go through all of the layers here and erase that completely and get that. So now I no longer know that the internet people are coming between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. on Monday. Oh dear. Well, the good news is it's still on the whiteboard behind me, so I'm not completely and utterly stuffed. But you got all of the options here that you might be looking for with a more, advanced tool. It works really nicely with the Apple Pencil, particularly if you're erasing things. Then the Apple Pencil is going to be a great way to do that, and particularly the Apple Pencil. So if you're coming from an Apple Pencil 1, then you've got this double tap, which you can set up in different apps to do different things. But I like the fact that, I can zoom right in on something. So I've just managed to mess things up a little bit there, but that's okay. I'm just going to zoom in here. Okay. And I'm going to try and swap back to my paintbrush tool here. I'm going to pick a color. I'm going to deliberately pick something that's, doesn't blend in too well. And then I will I'll leave that at 64 pixels. But if you look here, as I paint, I'm doing this with my Apple Pencil now. I'm not doing this with my finger. And that's very precise. Unfortunately, I was touching the screen. I've not set this up to be using the Apple Pencil. That's one of the settings that you can actually change in Affinity Photo, you can say, am I doing things with the Apple Pencil or not? And there's a whole bunch of defaults and everything that you can change here. But it's an incredibly powerful photo application. And of course, you can save this and come back to it later. And they've got some great samples as well of the things that people have done.
I'm
if I
could show really quick, we'll show on my screen here. So this is this is the original photo, and I'm just going to start turning on layers here so you can start to see what all has been done to this photo. There's a background added that moon to the model's face, some adjustments to the color, a blue spot that adds even more color to the face, some adjustments to liquefy to make the model look more like a mermaid, and a little bit of a light glare on the lips, blurring out the hair to make the model look like they're underwater, adding in some fish, shadow from the hand, which is just out of frame, adding in a hand, and adding some small bubbles in the background, bubbles on the left from the fish, bubbles on the right from the other fish, sparkles in the hair, some soft light adjustments to the color overall, even more adjustments to the color, big bubbles, light spots. We'll turn that off and back on so you can see that it basically just takes the highlights and in some of the areas and pops them even more. And then last but not least, some final adjustments to get us all the way to this. So just like Photoshop, you can get some very powerful effects that will be familiar to any of you who have used that tool in the past. It's pretty cool. And yes, with the Apple Pencil, being able to do liquefy features and making adjustments to, because I often find I prefer my iPad for doing masking in particular. It's so much easier to really precisely get the mask as I want it as I'm drawing the curve directly on the photo, as opposed to on a trackpad while looking at a photo. And then all of those tools are there. But this is just one example of the many things you can do with a photo in Affinity Photo. Ooh, that's a cool one.
Yeah, so this one is Koi. And I'm just going to deselect the layers. So we have a background layer, which, this is a group of layers. So for people, not familiar with layers and groups, layers, you stack things on top of each other. Groups, you can put everything together and you can give them names as well. So we've got, blurry background, then we've got some floating points, which kind of look like, maybe octopi or something in the background. Got some clouds in front, added some shadows to that, which is lovely. And then we've got this atmosphere, which is built up of loads of layers. I'm not going to go through all of those, but, there's specific layers to adjust, brightness and contrast and add a lens flare or remove a lens flare and things like that. And when you combine those two, of course, you can really see everything because they're translucent layers. And then we've got, all of these fish and the butterfly and everything. And if, you want to get rid of one of them, then you could do that. And I really like actually playing with these samples. They are, amazing to play with. You don't need a separate graphics tablet. Instead of buying a graphics tablet, you can actually get these for $99 from the Apple Refurb store, the Apple Pencil. So if you haven't got an Apple Pencil and you're thinking that you want to try one, but $130 is too much, check the Apple Refurb store. You can get them directly from there. What I also like about Affinity Photo is I can pin different tools on my screen. And so then they will stay there until, I'm ready. So I can, have a look and play with all these things and try them out and, see, I'm good. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to, zoom out and so on. It doesn't hide that tool until, I unpin it and hide it myself, which is great. I love how easy this is. And it works really well. It's a beautiful application that's really well done. I've not been editing photos on this on this iPad because, I don't take many photos. I certainly don't need to edit many photos, but it has a whole bunch of options as well where you can set color profiles and things like that, things where I am very much out of my depth, but you can also, have left-handed mode and things like that. So if you're left-handed, then of course this has got a left-handed mode where it switches your tools around and so on for you, which is really useful. You can also control exactly what the pencil does, whether or not the double tap on the side of your Apple Pencil. That's where you just tap twice on the Apple Pencil is enabled, and what that tool gives you. And you've got all of the options here. And I love that. And then, what double tapping again would do. And, there's fonts, there's changing all of the shortcuts for photos, selections, liquify. Every single option has all of these amazing things. So you can go through, and if you tap on the tutorials, then you'll get taken to their website where they have, that's just reloaded on my iPad. They've got examples on how to do everything. And these examples are the same ones that you would use on the Mac as well. So if you already know how to use Affinity Photo on the Mac, then of course you can use it on your iPad, and it's the same thing, which is great. I love the cross-platform ability. And, it shows you, panoramas, 3.5 minutes. These are short, easy to use tutorials. And I highly recommend it. And at $9.99, if you're looking for something where you think, oh, Pixelmator Photo doesn't necessarily do everything I want or everything I need, have a look at the tutorials for Affinity Photo and see if that does it instead. Because, all of these apps are great. And especially, photo and video applications, they have really good tutorials. And of course, this is a one-time purchase. It's not a subscription or anything. So if you're looking at Photoshop and going, I cannot justify $10 a month. Well, if you can justify $10 once, then you can justify Affinity Photo. And it is a great application.
Absolutely. It's fantastic, the power that's built into this thing. And right now there is a deal for it being 50% off. I believe that's for the Mac version, but having it on, or it might be for the iPad version. I know that there's a bunch of deals that they're doing right now, partially because of the pandemic, wanting to make sure that they get these tools into people's hands as they need them, which I think is really neat. And there are some updates available too. In fact, there's one more tool that you want to tell us about that's available on the iPad. Affinity Publisher is eventually coming to the iPad as well, but Affinity Designer, which is also available for $9.99, is there on the iPad.
Yeah. So one of the things that I forgot to mention before in Affinity Photo is there's a question mark in the bottom right-hand corner where if you tap and hold it, it will show you what all of these buttons are and what they do, which is amazing. And it's exactly the same in Affinity Designer Publisher, as you said, is not yet available. And it's a bit of a shame because that's the one I actually end up using more frequently just because that's the kind of stuff that I end up doing. But I love having Affinity Designer for those times where I'm just like, okay, I just want to try positioning some text with a logo so I can show it to a designer who can then go, what were you thinking? And they can fix it for me because let's face it, I'm not a graphic artist and I do not pretend to be. I'm also very aware of my failings, which I think is probably a good thing. But I mean, the tool I end up using most frequently is, of course, the Text Studio. So this image that I've got here on my screen is one of the samples that I downloaded. So, now I can go ahead and again, it supports the trackpad, just, like all of the other apps that we've talked about today do. And I like the fact that it's got these presets for fonts as well. So I can actually say I'm going to go with 240. I could have typed that in. Why am I tapping and clicking? I'm not quite sure. This is me. It's a Friday afternoon. So that's life. But now, so now I've got my text tool. And I could go ahead and add some text. But I also have a play button here, and I just want to. There we go. Sorry, that's going through the toolbar options. So I just wanted to check to make sure. And yes, that is indeed correctly done. So there we go. Back to my text tool. And I should be able to add some text. And of course, my internet is freezing up. It's not doing a very good showing my iPad here. Unfortunately, Ecamm seems to be having a slight problem with my internet not working today. So I will see. Mikah, do you have something that you can show in Affinity Designer at the moment?
Yeah, I'll pull up an Affinity Designer here and just show one of the samples that's there. So this says power and precision. And if we go into the layers, you can start to see again, we've got some effects that are going to be familiar to you from Photoshop, some of those adjustment panels and things like that. But the magic here is that this is a lot like Illustrator. And so we can open up the brushes, and let's go with pens, and we'll choose solid pen with pressure. And then we can, whoops, let me undo that. Yeah, I do. So what I was trying to do was draw with the pen, and that's because I didn't choose the brush tool over here on the right. So we will just move that back to where it belongs, like so. And we will switch to there's the vector brush tool. And then we can, well, now I'm not, I bet it won't let me make any adjustments to the screen that I'm on. That's what's happening here, is I need to create a new layer. So we will create a new layer, new vector layer. And with the curves are there, they're just not at the top of the screen. So that's why you can't see them. My God, I am failing at this.
This is one of those applications where if you need to demo it, it's really hard to do because you know how it works when you're doing the thing that you want to do. But then, of course, the second that you try and show everybody else how that works, then all of that information flies out of your head and it disappears. And of course, you know, being able to tap and hold the question mark is incredibly useful as far as things go, but it doesn't solve all of your problems.
Exactly.
Which, you know,
So
is a shame. But there we go.
So we're getting some vectors in here that we can make adjustments to, and then we can add a brush stroke to it as we want. So there, now I've got a really fancy looking stroke here. And then I can take the move tool and move that. I'm going to delete that one because we don't want it. There we go. And we'll move this to the middle, and then I can change the, oops, I did it again. Again, as you said, Rosemary, it's whenever you are in the midst of doing it. This is the thing too, is that it is a little bit different from what you might be used to with the Illustrator tools and Adobe Photoshop tools and those ones that you may have used elsewhere. So knowing exactly what you're up to is important. So we'll turn that off. What I wanted to do was change the color of the stroke. There we go. So now we've got this really cool blue stroke here, and we can make adjustments to it, change the size as we needed to, and move it about the page. And now that's in the middle. And we'll get rid of that as well. And we'll get rid of that and that. And now we're good. Now I've got just the stroke, which is all I wanted to have there in the middle of the screen. Essentially, folks, this is a very powerful tool as well. And one of the things that I like about Affinity is they are no slouch on giving you a bunch of tutorials and information on how to use their tools. There are loads of tutorials that they have, video tutorials and readable tutorials that you can go through right from the app if you want to. And so you can see here on the left is tutorials. It pops you open to the page, and then you can watch, select same, select object, stock studio, placing images, the layers studio, what gestures there are, grouping things, aligning and distributing things, ordering. Look at all this: pan, zoom, and rotate canvas, open and import, an overview of the UI, which is a very helpful one. And then there are some more advanced tutorials. You can actually set it up so that you can do, so like vector tools, for example, managing vector brushes, the tools they have for shaped, advanced colors, editing strokes, transparency, the pen tool, the pencil tool, the corner tool, the vector brush tool. That's the one I needed to watch, and advanced curve drawing as well. So all of these features, they've got tutorials for you so you know what you're doing, all within the app to help you figure it out. That is Affinity Designer. And Affinity Publisher, Rosemary, is, as we said, not on the iPad right now, but it is the Adobe InDesign of Affinity. It is the tool for creating documents and other content like that.
Yes, yeah. And all the Affinity apps are great. They are separate purchases to get on iOS versus macOS. So if you already own the macOS version, you don't get the iOS version for free. But at the moment, as we said, they're $10 each. They're usually 20. They are good value for money. And I personally find that they are handy apps to have in your back pocket, as it were, when you might need something that can go ahead and do these, not necessarily already owning them, but knowing about them and that they exist. So when somebody comes and asks you, or maybe you have a need for one of these, then it's great. And I do love the fact that, you can really get into the nitty gritty of all of these, as well as doing things like, tapping on one of the settings to change it. I can also just, drag up and down on that setting. So I can move my baseline of my text to wherever it is I need it. And if I go, actually, you know what, I should just move my text, I can just tap on it and set it back to 0. And it's the same with, vertical scale, or, the leading over and tracking and all of this. I can, mess with everything as much as I want to create something horrendous, which should not ever see the light of day, as I'm sure the graphics designers here at Twit will tell me. Don't ever do this. Please just leave it to us. But that's okay. I'm allowed to break things as long as I'm having fun and enjoying myself, which I certainly am here today.
Exactly. And that's the important thing, is that you're having fun while you're playing around on your new iPad. These are some incredibly powerful apps that you can use that sort of stretch out and really take advantage of the power that's built into the new iPad Pro, particularly the 12.9-inch model, which packs in far more RAM than you have had in the past. So very cool that you can do so much with this thing. And I imagine we're going to continue to see improvements as WWDC rolls around the corner, and Apple makes it even more possible to take advantage of the power that's built into this new iPad Pro. So that brings us to the end of the apps segment. There are loads more powerful apps out there. These are just some of our favorites and the ones we wanted to talk about that we've used and really kind of been impressed with on our devices. But more of that in the future. But now it's time for the news. Up next, the news. All righty. Tell us about the first story you have here from Mac Rumors.
Well, the first piece of news that we have for you here today is about the iPad 2. Now, some people probably remember the iPad 2. The iPad 2 is the iPad I didn't buy. I bought the iPad 1 instead of the iPad 2 because I thought, now I'm good with the iPad 1. That's fine. That was my very first iPad. And the iPad 2 is obsolete. It is dead. It lives no longer. It has gone the way of the dodo. So it's not a Mac rumor. This is now Mac history. It's been around since 2011. So it's not really a surprise that 10 years on, it's obsolete. In fact, it's had a pretty good run up until now. And I have to say, I'm happy that it came along this far for the ride. It was considered vintage in 2019, but it's now completely and utterly obsolete. It was a great iPad at the time. I mean, it still looked the same from the front. It didn't have Touch ID. Such things didn't exist back then. It was one of those iPads where, it finally had things like a front-facing camera and a dual-core processor, and it was white as well as black. And oh my gosh, I also wanted the white one, but I couldn't justify it when I could get the original iPad cheaper back in the day, and boy, what a mistake that was. It would have been better to get the iPad 2 at the time, but then I went and I got the iPad 3, which was also a mistake because then 6 months later they came out with the iPad 4. And so I had a 30-pin connector on that iPad, and if I waited another 6 months, I could have gone Lightning. And that would have sped up my change over to Lightning. And I'm sure everybody remembers that painful change period where we were changing from the 30-pin connector to the Lightning connector. But it was a groundbreaking iPad when it came out. It had those rounded edges on the back. It was thinner. It was really a beautiful iPad. It was the first one with those magnetic covers, the smart covers, which magnetized onto the side of the iPad and then flipped over to the front. I don't have an iPad here to show it because these wonderful new iPad Pros have the smart connector on the back, which you can just about see here on my screen. It's a little difficult, but it has these 3 pins for the smart connector, and those get covered up by the new cases, which magnetize onto the back. You know, I like that, but I do miss the original sometimes. And yeah, it's a real shame that the iPad 2 is now completely and utterly dead everywhere around the world. But, you know, it had a good run. 10 years later, I think, you know, it could have done better. It could have done worse. But that is, unfortunately, life as we knew it, at least for the iPad 2.
Yes. Alas, dear iPad 2, we knew ye well. We knew thee well. Something like that.
It existed.
Yes, it existed. There was an attempt. No, it existed. It had a good life, and we've moved on to bigger, better, and more awesome things as things go. But
I mean, that had a 9.7-inch screen, but at least a couple of inches of bezel. So it's not. I think that iPad was actually bigger than the current 11-inch iPad Pros. You know, like front size wise, maybe not quite thickness wise, but I think it was bigger and had less screen, and it wasn't as good a screen. So if you've got an iPad 2, it is definitely time to upgrade. I can't imagine that you can install many of the apps that we talk about on the show here today if you've got an iPad 2. But you know, it's you know, it was a pretty good device.
It was a great device, and we will always remember you. All right, let's talk about the new M1 iPad Pro, which is able to download software updates over 5G. So this is something that in the past Apple had kind of limited. I think originally it came as a way of handling the complaints that folks had about they accidentally maybe, or perhaps on purpose, made those downloads. And then they got this bill from their cellular provider that said, hey, you owe us $60 bajillion because you downloaded the software update to your device using cellular. And so it's kind of been difficult for a while. You couldn't download apps, bigger apps. Then they gave you kind of a prompt to let you make that choice. And now you can use the 5G connection on new iPads that have it to actually make the downloads of those devices, which is nice.
Yeah. So for those people who, you know, maybe they don't have a home internet connection because they've been leading a more nomadic lifestyle, or they just don't need it and they're perfectly happy with just cellular, now they can actually use that cellular if they've got, you know, enough data allowance to download software updates on their iPad. They still can't do it on their iPhone, so they're still going to be heading to Starbucks or the library or wherever they get their free Wi-Fi to download software updates for those devices. But it means that you can do all of these things that would automatically happen on your iPad. And, you know, I can't help but feel like this is a good option. If you do not have unlimited data, then you're going to want to just double check your settings for this. The default setting will allow you to use the 5G for higher quality FaceTime, high definition content on the in the Apple TV app, Apple Music and video and so on. But the setting can also let third-party applications do the same thing. It is the default setting if you have unlimited data plans, if your carrier, you know, is one of those that would allow it. So for people who don't know, when you put a SIM card in your iPad, or when you set up an eSIM, then it installs a carrier profile, which is essentially a whole bunch of settings from your carrier. And that can do things like change stuff in settings and so on. I know on Android sometimes, like putting a SIM card in from another carrier will like completely rearrange your home screen and stuff. That's kind of crazy to me that it can do that. It won't do that on your iPad though, so you're fine. But basically, it means that you can allow it to use more data. So it's now completely up to your carrier as to whether or not they'll let you do that. Hopefully you will be able to take advantage of it if you have a new iPad Pro and a 5G connection. I'm not sure if it only works over 5G or if it will also have, a poor internet connection. I know where I live, I get 3G, so usually 4G. And if I go to a city, then I get 5G for about 5 minutes until it disappears.
5 minutes of 5G.
Oh yeah, it's very exciting. It's always 5 as well. I don't know why, but I've tried timing it, and when I check back after 5 minutes, it's gone. It's like magic.
There and gone again. So I'm not living that nomadic lifestyle. I spend enough time at home and therefore downloaded all of my updates over Wi-Fi. But I've got I don't even know. I think I may even have unlimited data on my plan, and I don't really use it. So I could have, if I wanted to, download, although not with the iPad, because I went with the non-cellular model because I never really use the cellular built into the iPad. And if I needed to, I can always just tether with my iPhone, especially now that Apple's made it a lot easier. All right, let us move on to the next one. This is something that's important for folks who maybe you heard about Apple Card adding a family feature that would let you everybody can be a part of the Apple Card family. And what it would do is combine accounts and kind of make it so that everybody could use it, including children of a certain age. And then what would happen is if you had opened an individual account, it would close that account. And so it was just kind of one account that everybody uses, one account to rule them all, if you will. And if you were kind of hoping to hop on this train early, you should know that you're going to have to wait until July, as that will be when you will be able to combine existing accounts. So just something to be aware of.
Yeah. Yep. And if you live in the UK like me, unfortunately, Apple Card is still not a thing. I'm crossing my fingers, Micah, that I'm going to get one. But, maybe they'll announce it at WWDC. Maybe.
Yeah, that would be nice.
We'll see.
That'd be a good announcement.
Yeah.
This next one is something that I have gotten so many questions about. And when I wasn't getting questions about it, I was seeing people complaining about it. And then I was also complaining about it originally. But now I know how to do it, and other people hopefully can learn how to do it too. Rosemary, tell us how we do scrolling with the new Siri Remote.
So the new Siri Remote is perhaps a little less intuitive than people might have imagined. I personally still think it is more intuitive than the original vintage Siri Remote. That's the all black one. But it's perhaps not as, amazing as people had imagined it would be, because it doesn't just work the way you might think. So there's a button in the center. That's the one that you press. And if it's something's playing, it will pause. If something is paused, that will start it playing. And the one I struggled with is rewinding and fast forwarding, because on the old remote, you just press the edge, which felt kind of weird, but you do need to press the left or the right. I was tapping it and it was showing me fast forwarding, but it wasn't actually fast forwarding, which was a little frustrating. And if you want to go backwards or forwards continuously, then you need to press and hold the click pad ring. And you press left or right repeatedly to go, backwards and forwards, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, at different speeds, is at least what I was experiencing earlier. And you can also press play or pause, and then that will show you a preview on the timeline, and then you can swipe around to go forwards or backwards in your timeline. Now, I have to say, I have noticed some features don't appear to necessarily work in every single application. I primarily use the Plex app on my Apple TV and Disney Plus, and they don't have support for click wheel, which is why I was very confused for quite a while that stuff wasn't working. That's because those apps need to update to add that support. But if you hop into the Apple TV app, so I hopped into the Apple TV app to watch some Apple TV Plus content, and that all worked. And so that was great. Yes, if you're struggling, A, make sure you're using an app that actually supports this, and B, there's a link. We'll put the link in the show notes to the 95 Mac article on how this works. And if you think you're swiping from left to right, but you're actually trying to go around, tap and hold the ring until a little circle icon appears, and then it's going to go into circular motion. But you have to tap and hold to start that, and then it will work.
The most upsetting thing about it is that it was not just a built-in feature. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That it didn't just, it doesn't work in all apps. And I think that that's what's led to the most confusion. It would be more discoverable if no matter what app I was using, that actually worked with it. And so now I find myself going, should I take that second to rest my finger on the wheel and see if it's going to pop up? or should I just do the click forward, click backward that I do know works? You know what I mean? That part was troublesome to me. That was bothersome to me, that Apple didn't make it so that it just worked with these different apps automatically.
Yes, yeah. But I have to say, I'm still very pleased with this remote. So I did not upgrade my Apple TV. I had the previous Apple TV 4K because my previous Apple TV had theoretically died. Turned out when I plugged it in a couple of months later, it was fine again. It was just pretending to be dead, I guess. It's fine. It now lives a happy new life with a friend of mine. So that's a good start for it. But I just upgraded my Apple TV remote to the new Siri Remote, and I am loving these extra buttons. They are great. Personally, I'm never using the mute button. I always use pause because I don't mute my TV. I pause and then I can continue watching it later. That's what I do. Yes, it's great. I really love it. So I'm very pleased with it. As soon as other apps update, then it will work better and it will work more consistently across all apps. So I wish Apple had given us that support from the beginning, but unfortunately they did not.
So in what could be some guerrilla marketing tactics, or could just be a slip up, or could be some mixture of both of these things, it appears that LeBron James was caught wearing Apple's still unannounced Beats Studio Buds. There's a photo, and in it, LeBron James is making a face and is wearing some sort of earbuds in his ears. And folks believe that these are Apple's new Beats Studio Buds, which have been rumored and pretty much revealed in their entirety by way of the software, sort of software spelunking. And now, it appears that we've seen them on the face. So I'm curious, Rosemary, do you think this is viral marketing at its best, or do you think this was the PR person forgot to tell LeBron James that he was not supposed to wear these yet? Or do you think maybe LeBron James was like, I don't really believe in what do we call those, embargoes, so I'm going to wear these if I want to.
And NDAs, yeah. I mean, okay, so a little bit of background. I'm from the UK. I had to Google LeBron James. I did not know who LeBron James is. Turns out he's a basketball player. Yes. So the way that this came across my feed is I follow Mac Rumors and a whole bunch of other websites in my RSS reader, and this popped up, and I was like, oh, okay. I guess this is somebody famous. And I Googled and I found out that LeBron James is a basketball player. And I went, okay, I guess he's famous then. So yeah, I guess this is, so I personally do think that this is marketing. If you remember back to, in the launch of the first Apple Watch, we had all kinds of fashion people wearing the gold one. So, the head of the House of Givenchy was wearing it and things like that. And that's, this was after they'd announced it, but before, Average P on Rosemary Orchard at least had hers. So I kind of feel like this might be it. Like Apple might be acknowledging that the horse is already out of the barn. There's not a huge amount of, point in trying to close the barn door because the horse bolted months ago. And, it's already filed with the FCC. I guess they're just waiting for the right opportunity to, officially announce that these exist. And maybe they're waiting so that they've got a warehouse that's currently full of HomePods to be empty so that they can shove these in them.
I'm sorry, was that some shade there? Some HomePod shade?
I don't know. Maybe I'm feeling like maybe if the HomePod went on sale, I would buy another one. I've got a space right here, next to
I would also buy another one if it would go on sale. I need one more.
Yeah, come on, Apple.
Black.
Listen to us. Listen to us. We've already found out through the Epic versus Apple case that they do indeed listen to Apple bloggers, people we know, people here on the Twit network. So it would be great if maybe they just drop the price a little bit, and then they can empty out all those HomePods, and they've got space for these Beats Studio Buds. I don't know how many Beats Studio Buds boxes would fit into the space of a HomePod box, but I'm going to guess it's probably somewhere between 10 and 20.
Yes.
So, that's a lot of Beats Studio Buds. Come on, Apple, put the HomePod on sale.
For sure. All right. Well, that brings us to the end of the news segment, which means it's time for Shortcuts Corner. Folks, this is the part of the show where people send in their requests to Rosemary Orchard to have her help them with Siri shortcuts. And that is the Siri or the Shortcuts Corner jingle. And now, Rosemary Orchard, take it away.
Well, we have two questions for Shortcuts Corner this week. And the first one comes from Van in Club Twit. And he was saying, I have what I suspect is an easy shortcut question. Can I set up a shortcut to play a specific playlist I don't need to choose, and then set a sleep timer for a specific number of minutes I don't need to choose? I would want this to work on one of my 3 HomePod minis. Basically, one tap, and then I'm good for the night. I'm currently doing this with 2 Siri voice commands. Not a particularly difficult chore, but I'm wondering if I can get it down to 1 Siri command to run the shortcut. Well, the good news is, Van, there is a way to do it. You are going to need to do this probably with a tap rather than talking to your HomePod. And that's because I am using a little bit of magic inside of Shortcuts to control the playback from Shortcuts itself, or specifically from your iPhone or your iPad. So the first thing that you're going to want to do before we actually play with this shortcut is you're going to want to open the clock application and then pop into the timer settings, because this is where things could go horribly wrong. You're going to want to use this as a sleep timer. And if it makes a sound when your timer goes off, that's probably going to wake you up. You don't want that. So you're going to need to make sure that the device that you run this shortcut on is going to have your timer ending set to stop playing. And that is very important, because otherwise it's going to go or whatever. And then I've been doing a little bit of testing, and I've played around, and I've tested this several times for 30 minutes. Testing it for multiple hours is very difficult because then music just randomly stops and I get very confused as to why. Or I'm doing other things on my phone and stuff gets interrupted. But basically what we're going to do is have a shortcut that sets the playback destination to a HomePod. Okay, so you can select one of your HomePods here. I'm not quite sure why this is flickering. It's ever since I added my Sonos Roam, it does this. It's an Apple bug, not a Sonos bug. But either way, you select your HomePod, and so you set your playback destination. Now, I should note, there is another option with playback here where you can hand off your playback. You do not want to hand off your playback. If the if the HomePod is in charge of the playback, then the sleep timer on your device is not going to affect this. So you need to set your playback destination very specifically, which means that the device is playing the audio, but it's coming out of the HomePod. Then you're going to select your playlist and just say play and start a timer. Okay, and when you do this, then it will start playing my morning playlist to the HomePod in my bedroom. And I'm just going to quickly grab that and pause that, because otherwise people are probably going to hear something. So there we go. That's paused. Mother and the Muffins, Echo Beach. And so this is the easy way to do that. And it's great, but it does require your iPhone or your iPad or something to be in the mix for this to work. I have tried running this through my HomePod Mini. It did not sleep afterwards. It just doesn't work. It plays music, but and the timer will run, but then the timer just stops and you never hear anything. Now, another option that we've got. Oh, and I don't have dark noise installed on this device. This is what happens when your iPhone, which you were planning on demoing this on, it decides not to play nicely with Ecamm on your Mac when you are trying to record a podcast. So I'll just reinstall this. But dark noise is another way of doing this. So people who like to listen to a white noise effect or rain sounds or things like that, you can play these, through your HomePod. You can say, "Hey, Apple lady, please play, this sound for me." Dark noise is a great application for this. And I've talked about this on the show before. But if you use dark noise, then you can get it to play a specific noise, and it has a duration built in. And so this will then just, deal with this on your HomePod, and you don't need to use the timer. It's not really a hack. It's functionality, but it means that if you change your timer sound and you're using this to drift off to sleep, and then you get woken up by then I don't want you to be upset with me. So personally, I like to listen to rain sounds when I'm going to sleep. So I use dark noise and I set the playback destination to my bedroom. And then I actually just run rain sounds 30 minutes. And this is all built into the dark noise application. It's in charge and it knows in 30 minutes, stop. And that's it. And I'm really pleased with this. It works really well. And, both of these are great options. Music is 3 steps and the dark noise sleep timer is 2 steps. But the music should solve your problem there, Van. And so I'm hoping that will do the trick.
There you go. Thank you for answering that one. All right. And then the next one comes from Bob. I'll read it out for you, Rosemary, and then you can answer the question. Okay. Bob says, hi, I don't use shortcuts. Please don't judge me, but I think I might need one to accomplish this. I know I can set double tap the back of my iPhone to take a photo, which is great. But what I'd really like is a very quick way to take a video. How fast? I want to pull the phone out of my pocket and very quickly be able to start taking a video for something that is happening right now. Is this even possible? Writes Bob. Rosemary, is this even possible?
It is. And it's possible with a shortcut, and it's possible with 2 actions. So yes, you can open the camera from your home screen. So if you swipe down your home screen and swipe right, then you're straight into the camera. You can see my pencil case with some lip gloss, my Apple Watch charger, and an Apple Watch strap here on my desk. And you could switch to video and then, tap the record button. That is, of course, one option. But how about that back tap that you mentioned there, Bob? Well, that back tap can run a shortcut as well as doing things like open your camera or whatever. And with a 2-action shortcut, then you can even take a video straight away. So the camera is one of the applications available here in Shortcuts, and it has 2 actions. Take photo and take video. And this immediately starts taking a photo or a video if you set it to do that. Okay, so here you need to tap the option to show more. And I've not changed the quality, it defaulted to high quality, but I've set start recording to immediately instead of on tap. Okay, and then this is very, very important, Bob, because if you want to get a video of something happening immediately, you do not then want to immediately lose that video. So you need a photos action to save this. Okay, and I've just used the default save to recents, which means when I run this, it immediately starts filming. Okay, so this is filming right now. Okay, and then I tap done, use video, and then it's saved. And that's it. So now in settings on your iPhone, you're going to want to set up an action to run this shortcut. And I've put a link to the shortcut in the show notes for you so that you can put that in there. And then you can just double back tap on your iPhone and start recording a video. I would personally suggest, because this is video, you probably want to set this to triple back tap, because triple back tap is a little harder to accidentally trigger. It's still pretty easy to deliberately trigger though. And it just means that you're going to get fewer false positives, because if you do this, okay, and it's recording and then you stop, then you have to go, okay, do I want to retake or use the video? Or, you can swipe up to exit this. But this is the trick that I would use. It's just 2 actions. It's really nice. It's really easy. It immediately grabs that video for you and you start recording. You can always use something like LumaFusion or something else later to crop everything off. But trim off the ends if there's anything that you don't want. But there we go. That's how you can do that.
Amazing. That's perfect. That's exactly what Bob was looking for, I'm sure. And I didn't realize it was that easy. Incredible. All right, let's move on to feedback. This first one is some follow-up. Evan on Twitter had written in about whether or not we would be using our AirTags for pets, and also if there were going to be AirTag accessories for pets. There are now accessories for pets, including one from ElevationLab,
Yes.
rather.
Yes. So I've actually seen quite a few people who have 3D printers, 3D printing holders for this. But of course, if you don't already own a 3D printer, spending $300 on a 3D printer and filament and getting everything set up, it's a lot of money to just stick an AirTag on your pet's collar. So of course, there are some great options like, you could buy the Belkin keychain one. And, especially if you've got a larger dog, then that's not going to be a problem on their collar. But, if you just want to have an AirTag sitting nice and close to the neck, so that it's not going to be hanging around and getting bashed, then ElevationLab has the solution for you. So hopefully this will solve a problem for some of our listeners. I know quite a few people are interested in attaching AirTags to their pets. It's not something Apple actually recommend, but I think, it's something we know people are going to do. Absolutely guaranteed. And this seems to fit on pretty much every kind of collar out there, including a variety of different thicknesses as well, which I'm very pleased to see.
I just need them to miniaturize this even more. I've got very small dogs.
Yes. I can imagine putting that on Smudge, the cat who I fostered, and it would be, okay, not quite the size of her head, but the AirTag would be as big as her paw. I know it doesn't look that bad on that cat there, but, some cats don't do very well with large devices wrapped around their necks. So I'm sure at some point they might get a little upset about that.
Yeah, I think so. This next one comes from James via Club Twit's Discord server. I'm plugging my iPad Pro into a USB-C dock. It's a Dell dock with a ton of ports. Everything mostly works great, at least everything I would expect to work, but I'm running into a weird issue. I have a monitor hooked up via DisplayPort, and the video is being mirrored fine, but the audio is not working. On the iPad and Control Center, the default output is now showing up as Realtek USB 2.0 audio. I imagine I could plug speakers into the speaker port of the dock, but I don't have an extra set for that. What I want to do is just send out the external video, but use the iPad's built-in speakers. Unfortunately, I can't figure out how to do that. There is no option in Control Center to use the iPad speakers. I see my Apple TVs, my HomePods, etc., but where the iPad internal option usually is, I just have the USB audio out now. Is this some limitation in iOS where if you plug in a dock with speaker support, you can't use the internal speakers, or is there some workaround I'm missing? I'm curious, Rosemary, if you have a different answer, but I am going to say that this seems to be a limitation because I have run into this issue as well.
This is an iOS limitation, but it's not based on the speakers being put in the dock, as I discovered. I've done some digging around, and actually, if we look here on my iPad Pro right now, my iPad Pro is plugged into my Mac, and it's connected to Ecamm. So it's mirroring the screen. And you can see that if we go into the dock connector, it's screen mirroring. It gives me the option to stop. If I do this, it will break the rest of the show. So I'm not going to do that because I don't want Anthony to get very upset with me or Micah or any of you wonderful people. But I can, of course, select HomePods. So I think, James, we had a bit of a discussion about this in the chat room. I think Apple are trying to sell HomePods here. No, I think Apple are, have just assumed that if you're plugging in a screen, of course you want your audio to go where the screen is going, duh. But that is not necessarily the case. So I've been doing some digging around, and I've found some options. Now, I don't have experience with any of these, so I'm not going to provide a link just because I don't want to be recommending a product that I've not tried for myself. But there are audio switchers that you can buy where you can then have one set of speakers connected to two devices or more devices where and then it will you can press a button on it to switch, which means that your one set of speakers can then be plugged into multiple devices. Now, this isn't necessarily a great solution. The solution that I personally am using is that I plugged my speakers into my monitor. I was previously going to buy so I got a set of speakers. I had them plugged into my Mac Mini. Everything was great. And then I realized that my monitor was still getting set as the default sound output for a whole bunch of things, which is kind of annoying and crazy. Why would it do that? I don't know. The monitor doesn't have speakers, but it does have a headphone port. So I plugged my speakers into the headphone port. But this looks like it's a limitation specifically of screen mirroring, not docks with headphone support. So I would recommend, James, that you try one of those audio switchers. I did also look because you can get headphone splitters. So you can, have audio going from one source to two sets of headphones, but there doesn't appear to be the inverse option. I found a couple with microphone and speaker, and maybe that would work, maybe not. I don't really know. I'm not sure I can recommend that right now because, again, I've not tried it and I've done some digging around. I can't seem to find a cable, but I think maybe buying an audio switcher and an extra aux cable is going to be the right solution here, which is annoying. It's going to be another thing on your desk, but it's certainly worth a try. And Amazon do have great return periods if you try something like that and it turns out not to work. So I think that's going to have to be the solution that you're going to try. I can see James has posted in Discord to say that he was going to buy one of these audio switchers because he sells them on Amazon for for $15 to $20. That's not a huge investment if it does work. And if it doesn't work, as I said, Amazon do have a great returns period where you can say that it didn't work and send it back because it did not work for you.
There you go. It's good that you had an answer aside from it's a limitation, because that has always been my experience with it, that there's not an easy way to make that happen. So I'm glad. I do wonder if that will also improve with the next version of iPad OS, in particular, as folks even more start to use their iPad as their main computer. And instead of just the screen mirroring, it's an actual external monitor for the iPad. It should be interesting to see. All right, folks, that brings us to the end of the feedback segment, which means it's time for App Caps next. All right, App Caps.
Oh.
Well, look what we've got here. We've got a very festive, very happy sort of hat going on there. Nice and floppy, also seemingly Southern. And I, over here, am working with a dramatic Southern hat, which is my funerary hat.
That is incredibly dramatic. I
Yes,
love
thank
it.
you.
You have such a great hat collection, Micah. I love it.
This is one of the new ones that I've added to the collection. You look for hats and you find some fun ones, and I really dig yours. So, folks, this is the App Cap segment, the part of the show where we celebrate our app picks of the week by wearing silly caps on our heads. These are apps that we have come across that we want to share with all of you, or apps that we've been using for a long time that we really enjoy. In any case, these are our app caps. So, Rosemary, tell us about the cap you're wearing atop your head and your app pick of the week.
Well, the cap I'm wearing is not a cap. It's a hat. It's a summer hat, and it's got some flowers on it. It's white. It's got a little blue line around the brim. It's actually got some I think it's like corset boning type stuff in the actual brim, so that I can flex it around. But This is pretty old now, so it's gone very, very floppy over the years, and it's got this little thing right here. Which way does this even go? Nope, it's the other way. Okay. Right. So I'm just going to try tucking that out of the way so it's not flopping into my eyes. Worst case scenario, I'll turn the hat around. Well, my app pick for today is actually based on something Dan Morin, your co-host of Clockwise, had recommended when he was on the show standing in for you a couple of weeks ago. And the app that I am picking here today is Cinema Time. So on that episode, we looked at a great app called TV Time, which is what Dan was using. And I discovered, or actually somebody in the IRC chat discovered, that there's also a film version. And I was using iMovie, so iShow's Movie, which is a good app, but I don't know. I felt like I should try something else. So I already had the TV Time app. So for £2, I downloaded this app to complete my bundle, because it's a bundle option where you can get both apps for $4.99. And now I have a really lovely app here which shows some of my watch history. Now, I'm syncing this with Tracked, Trakt, and that is a service where you can choose to log everything. I'm not quite sure where this film, Christmas Inheritance, has come from. I have definitely not seen that. I'm guessing I must have left this logged in at some point. But I can see all of the shows that I've got, and I recently watched Up, and so this is back in here as well, and I can choose to add things to lists and so on, so I can have watch lists and things like that. I can see ratings, and I can add my own rating. Up was amazing. I'm giving it 9 out of 10. I'm very much dug. Squirrel. Did somebody say squirrel?
Well,
it's great that you can, add these things to your queue so that they come up in the watch list. You can jump straight in and watch a trailer of something. Sorry, my internet's quite slow, so it's going to take a moment to load there. And I will just pause that because we don't have the copyright to show everything. And, if you want to watch the Up trailer, then by all means, go ahead and watch it. It's available on Disney+. But I love the fact that it's got all these related movies down here at the bottom as well. I've been going on a bit of a Disney kick recently. So the next one I'm going to be watching is, of course, The Lady and the Tramp. So I'm just going to add that to my up next view. And just look at them. Aren't they just having the best date ever? Who doesn't love sharing spaghetti and meatballs or vegetarian bowls if you want that? I also really like that up here in the top right, I can choose to open it on a couple of the different services. So I can open it in iTunes. So if I, don't have an iTunes, sorry, my internet connection is having a day here. So I've actually blocked some of the internet access on here. But I can also open it on IMDb and so on if I want a little bit more information about something. And, I've got the cast and the crew down here as well. So if I think, Peggy Lee, what else was she in? Well, I can tap on Peggy Lee and, Peggy Lee's done quite a few things, she had a pretty good life by the looks of it and did an awful lot of things. And so I can go, I'd like to watch Mr. Music. And so I can have a look at this and find out it's a golf crazy songwriter tries to avoid the long solitary hours of concentration needed to produce a hit musical, and his producer and secretary conspire to get him back on track. Well, that sounds like fun, so I'm going to add that to my watch list. And I love the fact that I can go down lots of rabbit holes here and find all kinds of great things. And I can think, Into the Woods, that was a great film. I've not seen that since that came out in the cinema, I don't think. So I'm going to add that to my watch list here. Oh, yeah, Anna Kendrick. She's been in some good stuff, and I can just continue down this rabbit hole of watching and looking for great things and adding all of them to my list. And then I can go back all the way up my rabbit hole, back up to up. And then go back to the list of films that I have. And, this is populated by, a bunch of different things. Oops, there we go. Sorry. Did not mean to swipe one password onto my screen there. But, you also have a search where you can go through and, it's got box office, what's currently in the box office. And most people know there's not a huge amount of stuff in the box office. Burt Cruella is coming soon. Well, that's going on my watch list. I am kind of enjoying these new Disney redos of villain things. So I'll have a look at that. And of course, Black Panther, that is one I should probably watch again. That was a 2019 Oscar nominee. And they have, all of these different lists. They have populars. They've got anticipated things. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Yes, please. But that's going to be a couple of years away. And of course, you can dive into your franchises and stuff. So X-Men, I've not really seen a lot of X-Men. I don't know. Am I going to get slaughtered by the chat rooms here for saying this? So I'm going to try and watch. I'm going to watch X-Men. I'll start at the beginning and move forwards. But I love this app. It's very simple, but it's very pretty, and it's working great for me. And it's showing me all the different things that I want from a film watching application which tracks what I've watched. I don't use Letterboxd really. I have an account there, but this is going to be a great way to keep track of things and to enjoy all of the album artwork, because who doesn't love Miss Congeniality?
Amen to that. Awesome. $2.99 in the App Store. I'm definitely getting that. I like the tracking. All right, let me talk about mine. I'll pull back my veil for the communication portion here. So the app that I'm talking about is called Information Superhighway. And this is a very simple app. It is a Wikipedia viewer. It is a way to go through the Wikipedia library, just different random articles without ever having to stop. So it pops open. So the Stoneham Public Library, you get a little bit of information about it. That doesn't sound interesting to me, so I'm just going to move on to the next one. Spring Arbor University, no. Oh, WBZZ sounds interesting. Let me tap on that, and I can choose to continue reading. Then after I'm done reading that, immediately I can move on to the next thing. This is literally just a way to read a bunch of different stuff on Wikipedia without having to find it kind of randomly. You can open different pages in Safari. You can share them as you want to. You can share them as Markdown. You can share to Instagram. So with this, it will actually create a photo with from Wikipedia, and then people can tap on that and see it. So we'll go back to Superhighway, and we'll tap again and choose share. And, then I could share it to an individual person. And I can continue to scroll until I come across something that I want. And folks, this is it. This is what the app is. It is just a simple way to see some interesting stories. You can almost use it like a fidget. If you were standing in line and you're just kind of like, la 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 la. Oh, cycad, that sounds interesting. And then you start to read about cycads, which are seed plants with a very long fossil history that were formerly more abundant and more diverse than they are today. Continue reading, and then you go on to read about cycads. And that's it. It's called Information Superhighway. It's available for free. It is a Wikipedia reader that's an endless scroller. And I think it's fantastic as a way to just come across some interesting stuff that you want to check out. It's got dark mode and light mode. It's available on iPad, iPhone, with Apple Watch and iMessage apps that have some more features, including just kind of a quick way to scroll, and then you can keep reading to actually have it pop up on your phone with more information. And then the iMessage app lets you share with other people. So if you come across a story that you like, and then it has stickers as you might want them. That is Information Superhighway. I know it seems super simple, but that's because it's supposed to be. It is just a nice way to kind of scroll through a bunch of different articles and come across something that is of interest to you. And as I said, available for free in the App Store. With that, I'm going to go back in the morning because we're coming to the end of the episode here. That's so sad. We are just about to the end, which means that I should tell you that if you have questions, feedback, or those kinds of things that you want to send our way, you send those to iostoday@twit.tv or tweet with the hashtag AskIOSToday. You can tune in live to the show to watch us as we record it and occasionally run into internet issues by going to twit.tv/live and checking that out every Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern, which is 11 a.m. Pacific. Rosemary Orchard, if folks want to follow you online and check out all your great work, where do they go to do that?
The best place is not iOS Today at twit.tv. That's our email address. Let me try that again. The best place to find me online is rosemaryorchard.com, which has links to all the stuff I do. And if you want to follow me, then I am Rosemary Orchard on micro.blog and on Twitter as well. Micah, where can people find you?
You can find me at Micah Sargent on pretty much all of the social media networks, or head to chihuahua.coffee, CHIHUA.coffee, where I've got links to the places I exist online. And by the way, we mentioned Club Twit a few times, and we also mentioned talking to some folks in the chat here in the Discord chat. If you want to have all of our shows for free, ad-free rather, then you can check out Club Twit. It's $7 a month. And with that, you get every Twitch show with no ads, an exclusive Twit Plus feed with extra content, including something that happened today on the show, as well as access to a members-only Discord channel, a Discord server, which is quickly becoming the most popular part of the package. All of that is available twit.tv/clubtwit for $7 a month. We'd love to have you join us in the Discord and get all of our shows ad-free. It's so much fun. And we appreciate those of you who are supporting us via Club Twit. Thank you so much. I believe that brings us to the end of another episode of iOS Today. So until next time, we will bid you adieu.
You may have heard about this story, but are you familiar with the story behind the story? Well, every week on Tech News Weekly, my co-host Micah Sargent and I, Jason Howell, speak to the people who are making and breaking the biggest tech news of the week. We're talking with journalists, we're talking with industry veterans, often we're talking with the people who are responsible for the story. Don't miss Tech News Weekly at twit.tv.